Hello, everybody. Welcome to the week 1 go-to training for Psychology of Play. My name is John Morton. That's a picture of me. That's what I look like. How's everybody doing today? Good. Excellent. Still waking up. All right. Fair enough. Awesome. Wonderful. Well, I'm glad that everybody's here. I appreciate everybody showing up. I hope you feel better if you're not feeling well. But yeah, thanks everybody for coming out. Like I said, my name is John Morton. I'm one of the associate course directors here for Psychology of Play. And welcome everybody who, if you're in one of my sections, all the better. You get to spend the rest of the month hanging out with me virtually online, interacting through through our class discussions. But what I'm going to do today is talk to you a little bit about what the class is going to look like, go through some of the expectations, some of, hey, here's what it looks like to be successful in this class. Because at the end of the day, that's really what we're looking for. I'm pretty realistic with my students. I realize that nobody came to Full Sail for the psychology program because we don't have one. But I think that we have a lot of really interesting information to pass on to our students. I think that this class does a lot to set students up to succeed academically, but also in the careers that we take on. Everyone is probably a creative. That tends to be what we attract here at Full Sail. We attract people who are very creative, who like they tend to be, alternative, perhaps in their learning styles, but even in their choices as far as education and then the careers that they move into. And we want to, kind of honor that and say, hey, there's something to that. There's something about, having some alternative views and alternative education models. So we try to make this class pretty interesting, and it's not, your typical Psychology 101 or abnormal psychology kind of things that people may have seen in high school or maybe in college elsewhere. But I think we have a pretty good time in the class. I'm glad you're all here. Having an audience makes this a lot more, exciting for me. I have people to talk to and interact with. And on that first thing, just for a little bit of housekeeping, I know sometimes people get excited, but the chat box, to the best of our abilities, if you treat it as though you're, the whole class can see it, but treat it like you're just messaging me in that as opposed to messaging one another. If you want to message each other, feel free to go in, into the platform and message each other there. You can send each other emails. There's a million ways we can talk, but I try to use the message board in here as a way for me to be able to, answer questions, respond to people. And if we all get chatting on side conversations, it can be really tough for me to keep up with it. So I inevitably, if I don't tell people, it ends up, spinning by, and I don't get to see everyone's comments and questions. So thanks everybody for keeping that class related. All right, well, we'll dive right in. A lot of people are probably saying, well, what are we doing here? What's Psychology of Play? Is this about going to a play? Is this about playing video games? No is the answer to both of those questions. It's not specifically about either one of those things. The easiest way to explain it is basically to say that play is the tool that we have that combats stress and keeps us rolling creatively. It's kind of if you think about yourself as an engine. You move, you work, you do creative work. You move in a certain direction. But you can get exhausted creatively. It can be tiring to just kind of create constantly and to be putting yourself out there. Some people get writer's block. There's other kind of artistic fatigue people can experience. And play is one of the things that really tends to recharge the batteries. we've kind of looked back, and you'll see as we go through the class there's some studies that point to it, that right, play kind of tends to be the answer. It's a way to recharge. It's a way to combat stress, and overall it works out pretty well. We found for our students. So it's the key element that you'll see throughout the class. We keep coming back to play. Maybe not maybe, we'll definitely talk about the way that we view play, how we see it, how maybe the world sees it, and kind of where we fall with that. So it's pretty interesting. I'm just going to get through just kind of what we're going to be doing throughout the month. I think everyone usually ends up having questions. You probably have, when you log into the Full Sail online platform, it probably looks something like this. This is just week 1, so everyone should have something like this. And each week you'll have a similar thing. As a heads up, and for housekeeping, there is a section before this. I want to say it's getting started, so definitely check through the getting started section, read over that, check into it before you move forward. But each week you're going to have something, and it'll look roughly like this. The first activity is the community board. It's a way for students to connect with each other, chat. If you have something you want to talk about that's class related, you will have something creative that you want to talk about. Just a platform for students to go out and interface with each other. If you're looking for, to connect with your peers, it's tough when we're online. We don't really have the, before class and after class, you talk to, the other people in class with you. So to facilitate that and have that kind of that opportunity, we have the community board. So feel free to use it, for anything that that kind of falls into that world. Keep it, obviously professional. We don't want to get inappropriate there. But it's there. It's a social platform. So feel free to use it that way. We have the E3 Essentials, activity 1.1, which, as you can see, if you're looking at the due date, is due tonight. So it's kind of the first thing. It's a pre-assessment. We take it pre and post. So at the beginning of the class, at the end of the class, we do the same assessment. And the idea behind it is it just kind of gives us a quick snapshot of how we view ourselves. It's a self-assessment. There's not a it's really just taking the answers, which are, how you view yourself, not necessarily how others view you or how you want them to view you, but how you view yourself. Be kind of as honest as you can in that. But that's what that assessment's for. It's pretty interesting. I've found some interesting information in there. When I've taken it several times since working at Full Sail, and what I've found is that, it's me talking, about myself. So obviously there's going to be some stuff I know. Excuse me, but I found some interesting things out. Things that maybe I saw as good or bad about myself that I kind of got a new vision for. I saw them in a different light. I'm a pretty optimistic guy. I try to look on the bright side and be positive about things. And my answers and my results reflected that. And I thought, well, great. I'm really optimistic. I'm really, I'm pleasant to be around. I'm happy and positive. And they said, yeah, that's absolutely true. But it said, here's an area where that might not serve you as well. And it talked about managing people, when you're managing others, when you need to, help people, on their own improvement plans. Say if you have someone who you're managing and they need to work on something, all of that optimism is great, but you're going to every now and then have to be able to call somebody out. And, I would want to do it in a nice way, but every now and then I'm going to have to say, hey, you know what, here's a area of improvement. And it pointed out to me that, hey, this might be a hard thing for you to do because you tend to be pretty optimistic. So, take it, see what you get out of it. Take it for what it is. I wouldn't, I wouldn't take it to mean anything, but right, like I said, I think that it has some interesting insights. So take it at the beginning of the class, we take it at the end. But yeah, it's a fun little assessment. Then below that, we have activity 1.2, live lecture. That's us. We're in the live lecture right now. So you can go in there, and once we're done with this and click that you've completed it, And that's what we have. It'll have a link to the archive in there. So if for any reason you have to leave or you aren't able to, watch during the time that we do our live lectures, you can go back and watch the archive at any point. Or if you just loved the live lecture so much that you have to see it again, go back in. There'll be an archive. I'll post it probably this afternoon, this evening, somewhere before day's end. I'll go in and post that, and it'll be a link to a YouTube video, and it'll be there and it'll be available for everybody. So if for any reason that's useful to you, it'll be there. Just below that is our activity 1.3, the weekly plan, which is due Tuesday. So due tonight. Normally these are due on Monday, but because class started on Monday, we try to give everybody a little bit of a grace period there in week 1. But next week it will be due on Monday. So just kind of keep that in mind. The weekly plan, you can go in and check the directions. I'm going to scroll down, and we're going to end up going back and forth a little bit, up and down. So I hope nobody has any motion sickness issues. But our weekly plans will look something like this, where we have our categories. We have work, play, fit, and push. So those are the 4 categories that we're going to be working in each week, and we want to fill out calendar style. So Monday through Sunday, activities for each one. So in the work section, there's 3 spaces. And we can put anything. We can put our actual jobs that we're going to. We can put our school assignments. You can put maybe housework you need to do, whatever it is. But we realize that there's usually more work-related stuff each day. So we have 3 spots there. Below, we have play. I'd like everyone to include, at least 1 play activity for every day. I would try to be as specific as possible throughout the entire schedule. This is not just for my benefit, but I think for everyone's benefit. And what I mean by that is, some of the things are generic. So if you're looking at this schedule, in the work section, it says check email. Check email is generic and it's there every day. I think that's a wise decision. But if I was going to also say, do schoolwork, what I would actually encourage everyone to do is actually write out the activity that you plan on working on each day. And what that'll do is that'll ensure that, you've looked ahead. You said, okay, well, this activity is due on this day. This activity is due on this day. You can put them on your schedule ahead of their due dates. So you're already, ahead of schedule. You know when things are due. You know when it's expected. So we put it on the schedule. We list the dates. It really, I think it ends up being a pretty useful tool because every day what you need to get done to ensure that you're meeting your deadlines. And you have, a nice schedule that's laid out for you. That's what I would encourage everyone to do as far as being specific. Heather, you can put your schoolwork on there. I'm fully okay with having schoolwork on there. I can go back and review, but I would encourage everyone to put their schoolwork on there. I think it's a pretty good place to put it. Okay, yeah, it looks like Tara says she submitted hers and put her class work on. Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, I'm trying to think. I'd have to go back and review. I was looking over the directions earlier. I don't recall seeing anything that said that. Give me just a second on activity 1.5. I'll get to that after we're done with this. Yeah, it does count as school as work. Yes, absolutely. So in the work section, like I said, schoolwork, actual job, housework, anything that really falls into those categories, feel free to put that there. When we're going into the next category, play, again, I would encourage people to try to be pretty specific with things. if you write Xbox and it just says Xbox, 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 I'm probably going to say, hey, that looks like you copied and pasted the same thing across the board, which isn't really getting it done for me. And some people say, well, I don't know what Xbox game I'm going to play. And what I would encourage you to do is to write a specific thing out. If you don't play, if you're not playing, whatever that specific game is that day, that's fine. I just want to know that you're putting a little bit more thought into it than copy and pasting across the board. So that's kind of how I feel. If you're using gaming, you can put, I'm playing Rocket League on Monday, and I'm playing League of Legends on Tuesday, and I'm playing Dota on Wednesday. However you want to put it. I don't know that anyone is playing all three games simultaneously, but if you are, more power to you. That's fine. But kind of think about it like that. You can put the actual things that you're doing, if whatever they look like, but try to be as specific as possible. The fit category, this one is really centered around physical fitness on the example, but it doesn't have to be. So just for all of you, the fit category can be physical fitness, mental fitness, health, well-being. Oh, Heather, yeah, my apologies. If your instructor has given you specific instructions, not to put schoolwork, then by all means, that's fine. I would email back and ask them, hey, what are you looking for in this section? And perhaps their comment of do schoolwork is just that. It's that they are looking for specifics. I can't speak to exactly who it is, but thanks for pointing that out. My apologies if I gave you contradictory feedback. But again, what I was saying, for everyone in my sections, definitely, keep in mind, right? If you're going to put school related things, put the actual activities that are in there. That's what I would like to see. But right, again, carrying on with fitness. It can be, I can make myself a healthy meal. I can do, a mindfulness activity. I can do yoga. I personally like to, go to the gym, exercise, run. That's my thing. I do that on Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays. So I would put those things in there. The other days I might put, walk more, eat a healthy lunch. Today I'm failing. I ate calzones for lunch and it was delicious. But maybe I'll have a healthy after work snack. Asia, if you've already turned yours in, you can always go back and make a second submission. You can, go back in and redo the assignment. You can change the things that you need to change around and resubmit it. And just put a little note in there that says, hey, please look at my second submission. That's fine. That's a good kind of point for everyone, is that you can always, if you've made a submission, at least in my class, you'll want to check with each of your instructors. But for me, I'm always happy if you, started something, you said, oh, I really didn't put my fullest effort into that. I want to go back and resubmit or make edits. You can, please feel free to. For the last section is the push category. And the push category is where we're looking at areas where we're going above and beyond maybe what we'd ordinarily do. We're pushing ourselves outside of our comfort zones. We're saying, okay, well, here are things that I want to do that are, they're important. They're tasks that I want to get done. It's something that's meaningful to me, but maybe not directly related to anything else that I'm doing. So that's kind of how that section works. Again, you can look at the examples that are here. Those give you a pretty good idea of things you could put in there. But right, make them personal to you. Whatever works for you. Go with those. Below that is it's like a couple of free response questions, and these questions are going to be different each week. So make sure that you're downloading the weekly template. for the weekly plan each week. If you kind of work off the same template and you keep editing it, you won't get the questions at the bottom. So make sure that you're downloading the template each week to make sure that you answer the questions. And we're looking for a paragraph per question kind of responses. You can you can read over these and you say, okay, that's roughly what they're looking for. If you don't answer them or answer them in one sentence, I will probably not give you full credit for it. So just a heads up, I'm looking for full paragraph responses to these questions. So just kind of keep that in mind when you're doing the work. Full paragraph, at least kind of 3 to 4 sentences is what I'm looking for. So that's a pretty good idea as far as what I'd like to see. So continuing on with our activities. I'm sorry, does anyone have any questions about that specifically, the weekly plan, before we move on to the next thing? Nope. Okay. If you have questions, I'll take questions again at the end. So just as a heads up, happy to hear from everybody then, if you have them. The next two sections, or I'm sorry, the next section here is activity 1.4. It's the readings for the week. Make sure that you're doing the readings for each week. They are that is where the answers to the brain teaser, which is just a quiz every week, they'll be directly from there. So make sure that you're doing the readings each week. If you want to do well on the test. The test is, like I said, it says open book, so open readings. And yeah, they're pretty straightforward. Yeah, Bridget, if you have a really structured calendar that you're already using, you might just be able to use that calendar. If you want to submit, say, hey, here's my calendar. I have it, broken down into, an even more, calculated way. I'd be happy to have that submitted to me. If you're in my section, you might want to just touch base with your instructor. If you're not, and just say, hey, here's what my schedule actually looks like each week. I'm not a stickler for, if somebody already has a system that's working well for them, I don't want to say, hey, break your system and come use my system. But if you have no system at all, I think my system is pretty useful. So that's kind of my take on it. I don't want to pull you away from something that's working well for you. But if you don't have something in place, I think that it's worthwhile to check out having a system in general. The next activity is activity 1.5. That's the discussion board. Each week, again, it's going to focus on a different part of the topic. Tara, you say, I have a question. Will some of these due dates be extended because of the holiday week? No, the due dates that are listed are the due dates that we have. Those all take into account and account for the holiday weekend. So those are all the actual due dates. Joshua, for 1.5 discussion, can we submit as a Word doc as our discussion? Yes is the short answer to that. What I would encourage you to do, if you're going to write it in a Word document, I would write it in the Word document and then copy and paste it and put it in as a post. And the reason I say that is mostly because other people are going to leave feedback for you. I think that having people leave feedback is a really useful and helpful part of this. It tends to be that if they have to click on something else and download it, they're probably going to be less inclined to leave you feedback. So you can have it up there as a post. It's not wrong. It's not incorrect. I will still accept it. But you probably won't get as much feedback. So, do what you want with that. It's totally up to you. But that's my only real thing to say about that. Yeah, Tara, I see what you're saying. To accommodate those who are traveling. Um, yeah, unfortunately, no. If you need extensions, I would recommend reaching out to your instructor directly and having a conversation with them about that. But these dates are the dates that are kind of set up. If it's going to really be problematic for you, I would recommend messaging your instructor. Through the platform and saying, hey, I'm going to run into an issue because I'm traveling on X, Y, and Z dates. Um, but that's going to be a case by case basis. On the whole, overall, these dates are the ones that we're planning on using. Okay, so on with the activity 1.5, the discussion board. So each week you're going to have something that will look roughly like this. Each week, we're going to talk about different categories. So, week 1 is play, and they change for each week. So, it will be the same questions. Examine, the category play in your weekly plan. How are you currently meeting your goals? So, are you meeting them? Are you not? Where do you stand? What would you like to get done still? Second question, explain the challenges and successes you've encountered this week. How the successes impact your life, your mood, your motivation, self-esteem, relationships, etc. What changes will be beneficial in your plan for next week? What concepts from the readings resonated with you the most from week 1, and explain. Question number 5 and 6, because they're connected, are really probably you ought to do the reading before you try to answer those questions. That's where you're showing, me and your instructor that, hey, I've done the reading, I'm paying attention, I'm on board, here's what's going on. So I would definitely say check those out, make sure you're doing the readings, and each of these is going to be 1 paragraph per question is the response that we're looking for. Bridget, I was told by my student liaison that it's because it's an online platform and we can do it in our free time, unlike a structured classroom setting where you can only do the work and turn it in during the classroom campus hours. You can do your work whenever you want to, but you still have to submit by the deadlines. If that's kind of a helpful answer. You don't have to. It's like this lecture. It's great that you're here live. Happy that you are. But if you couldn't be here live, you could watch it in a different time. There's no penalty for not being here live for the lecture. I think that maybe is a more accurate representation. And really the thing about that. Especially with the discussion board post, the reason that we need to have them submitted earlier in the week is because that way it gives everyone a chance to come back and post on there. So this week they're due by Wednesday because we're closed on Thursday. Thursday's a holiday. Normally they're due on Thursday evening. So next week it will be back to Thursday. But we didn't want to ask people, say, hey, submit. We'd rather you submit a day early than expect everyone to submit on Thanksgiving. So that's kind of how that works. The response post, which is the next thing, and this one actually did get extended. It's due Monday instead of Sunday, so this is one of the times that there was an exception made. It's normally these responses are normally due on Sunday. We ask everyone to use the RISE model for giving meaningful feedback and respond to 3 classmates in their initial post. So what they posted, as their original answer to these 6 questions, respond to that using the RISE model. And have a conversation. You can talk with those people about it. The RISE model looks like this. So you'll want to answer, hit on these 4 points: reflect, inquire, suggest, and elevate. This is all in the directions for each assignment, but I like to make sure everyone's clear on it. What I would encourage everyone to do, and what I do when I leave this feedback, is I actually write out each word. I write a short reflection, and you can write one sentence per topic. You can put a reflection in there, put an inquiry, ask them a question, say, hey, tell me more about this thing that you're talking about in your post. Make a suggestion. Say, hey, I see you're interested in this. I'm also interested in that. Here's something that I would suggest doing, and elevate the conversation. Kind of keep the conversation going. Think about what else you can add to that conversation. And here's how it'll all be graded. So there's this rubric right here that adds up to 100 points. So the first one thoroughly addresses all of the questions and meets the requirement length. So that means that you've written a full paragraph for each question and you've addressed all parts of the question. That's a quarter of the grade. Provides clear and specific examples and or concepts in the initial post. So right there, it's concepts from the readings, concepts from the class. So you're discussing classroom topics. You're saying, hey, here's kind of stuff I learned about in the class, and here's how it relates to my life. Here's how it's things that I'm actually able to apply, so on and so forth. Respond to at least 3 peers using the RISE model. Again, 30 points for that. Spelling and grammar is 5 points. And then the last one is meets the initial post deadline or respond to an additional classmate. So what that means, if you aren't able to make your initial post by this week, it's Wednesday, next week it's Thursday, but if you aren't able to make it by the initial deadline, still make your post. You can make it the day after. You can make it anytime up until the absolute ending deadline. Still make your post. It's 10 points off. You can earn those 10 points back by responding, not just to the 3 peers, but to 1 additional peer. So make a response to four of your peers, and then you'll have earned the points back. So you can still earn 100, even if you were, to do everything, all the work on the very last day and respond to an additional person. I wouldn't recommend it. It would make it very hard for everyone else if everyone was responding on the last day, because there wouldn't be anyone to leave feedback for. So the system kind of works on the idea that people are out there, they're putting work out there initially on the front end so that other people can respond to them. There's nothing wrong with working ahead. Everyone could, you could do all of this today if you wanted to. If you all got on and you said, okay, we're all going to make our initial posts, you could make them all today. You could respond to all of your peers, and you could be done. You wouldn't even have to worry about this over the holiday break or trying to get it done on Monday. So that's an option for everybody. Always able to work ahead is one of the nice things. So just kind of keep that in mind. If that's useful for you, feel free to work ahead, especially if you're traveling. If your travel plans are going to keep you from getting the work done, working ahead is a great way to get around that. I'll go back up. Okay, so that covered activity 1.5, the discussion. Activity 1.6 is like I said, the brain teaser, quiz, test, whatever you want to call it. It's based, directly out of the readings, so make sure you've got the readings done before you do it. And the last one is bonus material. So the bonus material is just that. It's a bonus. You do not have to do it, but it's there. If you're really interested in the topic and what you're learning about, and you want to take a little bit deeper, you want to go more in depth, feel free. Just go in there, check it out. It's there for you if you're interested in the topic and you want to go a little bit deeper and get more in depth with it. We're always happy to facilitate that and help people out. So feel free to jump in. Does anyone have any questions? About any of the course, any of the classwork, the discussion board, or the weekly plan? Is everyone clear on the RISE model? Is there any extra credit for this class? There is not any extra credit for this class. If you run into a situation where you're really concerned about your grade, you can always reach out to your instructor and ask if there is an exception that they can make, but there's not any extra credit built into the class. Any other questions about any of the assignments? Aren't I the instructor? I am some people's instructor. So I have a couple of sections of this class, but based on, we're dealing with so many students on a monthly basis that there are multiple instructors who teach this class. So yes and no. Awesome. I'm glad I helped with the weekly plan. Yeah, Dominic, happy to give you the heads up. Yeah, we have a bunch of people who are in the class because everyone takes this class who's here. So there's a lot of people. So we have to have a lot of people to teach the class. All right. Another housekeeping thing, check your messages on a daily basis. This is great. It's a great way to make sure that you're staying involved, that you're staying informed, that you're touching base with the class, with your instructor. You definitely won't miss anything if you're, touching base every day. Antonio, good plan to work on your plan today. That is a great idea. All right. Sorry for all of the, kind of long drawn out housekeeping part of that. It's really important that we make everything clear. I don't want anyone to, move forward in the class without a clear understanding of those expectations. So I just like to make sure that everyone has that. I realize it's maybe a little bit boring, not as much fun to talk about, but I want to make sure everyone's kind of on the same page with that. So now that we know, what's going on, we want to look a little bit about, what we're learning in the class, what's going on. I've always been, kind of a fan of psychology, knowing how it works, knowing how people think and act and deal and move. It can be pretty useful. Similarly, play, kind of why people play, what draws them to it. I'm sure everyone has, you look at children, play is kind of one of those things that they do naturally. They're all just kind of drawn to it. They're inclined to play. Running around. I have two small children who are always running around, getting into it, exploring, climbing, discovering new stuff, and it's a lot of fun to watch them. But play is basically, how we learn and figure out the world. That's really what, that's how we start learning initially in life is through play. We start to discover the world and explore through our fun play activities. I think viewing play through that lens of discovery is what really facilitates incorporating play into our adult life and allowing that to be a persistent thread that we keep going on. Asia says, yes, my 2-year-old is running around right now. Yeah, no, I believe you. I am confident that my children are at home right now, probably running around as well. So what brought everyone to Full Sail? What was the thing that you said, hey, this is what I want to do. I want to pursue this thing. I'm really passionate about it. What brought you here? What had you, decide? Sarah says she hated her job. Yeah, that's honest. Okay, definitely. Music, being able to do game design online. Okay. To help build The Sims. Awesome. Storytelling, love music, love video games. Love my camera. Cover art. 3 kids, no time for classes. Okay. It focused on creative types. Okay. Productivity in music. Doing something better and above. Okay. Call of Duty Championship held at Full Sail. That's how you found it. Okay, awesome. Very cool. All right, so it sounds like everyone, we have things we're pretty passionate about, though, which is great. That's what I really want to see in really any of my students who walk through the door. You could have picked a lot of places to go and get an education, and you picked us. So, thank you. We appreciate that. I'm always happy when I have students who are like, yeah, I think that the work you do is really powerful and useful and helpful. And I've realized again that, like I said before, no one's here for the psychology class, but I think that we've got some interesting tools, for passionate creative types. So I'm happy that everyone's here. The kind of overarching themes that we run into, again, creativity and passion, that seems to be what's drawn everyone to us. What's brought you here in the first place is you say, hey, I'm really I'm into these things. I have a passion, and maybe that we have what you're passionate about as an educational track, which is great, and maybe you think that we're doing it better than other places, and that's great too. Awesome. Yeah, Full Sail is one of the top online colleges for game design. There you go. Right? Yeah. I'm not sure off the top of my head who else is offering game design degrees, but yeah, I'm happy that we have that reputation. And right, it's one of those things that I think a lot of people might not. See as a traditional academic path. That's kind of the other thing. We have our non-traditional students. We have students who are a little bit different. It's really interesting when I work with a lot of our students in person or online. In person, I think it comes out a little bit more. But students who they come to the campus. And I'm sure you'll find this when you work, with your classmates, people who kind of feel like they've found their group, their people they've maybe been searching for. They say, "Oh, look, I found like-minded people who are interested in the same things," and it's not necessarily, the traditional path that everyone else is taking. Um, Yeah. So tech inclined. Yeah, Tara, if you have to go do stuff, feel free. But right. So um, we end up. Oh, let's see, you're coming to campus soon. Awesome. That's very cool. You'll have to come by and say hello when you get here. Right. We have creative and innovative students, and we want to help them be successful. That's really a big thing for us. Everyone has their ideas, and it's great. There's a lot of people in the world with great ideas who are creative. We want to give people a platform to get those things out, because otherwise you'll sit and you'll be creative and you'll have great ideas. But until we get an action plan together, and we facilitate, helping people get those ideas out of their heads and down on paper, onto a screen, into a computer, whatever it looks like, we're just stuck. We're stuck saying, "Oh man, I have so much to give, so much to do, so much that's inside of me that I want to get out." How do I facilitate that? It's one of the things that one of the reasons that we have play. It gives us a pretty safe platform to get those ideas out. And I'll use an example. I'm sure everyone, when they were a child, at some point pretended to be a teacher, a police officer, pretend to be mom and dad. Everyone pretended. Everyone did something. And really, a pretend game, if you think about it, is all just an educational experience. It's all, figuring out, hey, what does, what does a teacher do? What's it like to be a teacher? What's it like, going through in, this task, this thing that we do. And we start learning, we start figuring out everything that we want to do in the world through our play activities. If you look again at children, I think you'll kind of come across some of the more interesting play activities that come up that are really just life lessons, and they're facilitating learning. My children are currently learning how to climb. Which is hilarious and terrifying because, they'll climb up on things and they'll stand up and, they're figuring out how balance works. They're figuring out, what you can stand on and what you can't stand on, what's stable and what's not stable. They're like, oh, look, I can climb up on this chair. But at a certain point, it tips over and it falls. And that's horrifying for parents. But kids are learning physics lessons. They're learning, okay, well, if I exert force in this way, this thing will happen. They learn psychology when, if they, you watch a parent feeding a child and the child, takes things and they throw their utensils. My kids love to throw their spoons and forks. They throw them all the time and it drives me crazy. But, it's how many times will dad go fetch my spoon or fork and wash it off and bring it back to me to keep eating? It's all these things that children are learning. They're testing their boundaries. They're, even when they play with one another, they're saying, oh, what happens when I do this? And one of my kids was biting another one the other day, and he bit his brother a couple times, and I was just like, you can't do that. And he got sad and made a sad face. But right, again, for him, it's a learning lesson. He doesn't know. He's just like, oh, somebody got close to me, and and they were leaned up against my mouth, so I bit him. And it's one of those things where, you don't know until you try in a lot of situations. So right, I don't want to. I'll go down the rabbit hole of hilarious things my children are doing if I stay on the topic too long. But right, really, at the end of the day, play opens a lot of doors for us. It opens the door not only to creativity, but to self-expression, and to fulfillment. When we're really in love with the things that we're doing, how we're spending our time, we can really get a lot out of it. So we've got some of the characteristics of play, which I'm going to go through. They're all listed right here, but it's a little unclear, so we'll go through one at a time. The first one is apparently purposeless, and there's always exceptions to the rule, so please keep that in mind as we go through. I realize that some play activities also serve a purpose. But right, when we go out and play, we're playing for play's sake, and maybe that's a better way to say it. We're doing it just for the sake of playing. We're not, necessarily going out because we want to win a prize or get something for it, but we just want to go out and have fun. We're just playing for the joy of playing. Play is usually voluntary. Usually no one's forcing us into something. We just say, hey, this looks like fun. I want to go do it. So on and so forth. There's inherent attraction. So what that means is, a lot of times we'll see others playing. We'll see something happening. We'll say, oh man, this looks like a lot of fun. I really want to get in on this and I want to do it. So we join in. We say, yeah, this it's something I keep coming back to because I'm attracted to this play activity. We experience a freedom from time. This is accurate, but can also be very dangerous. Just kind of something that everyone should be aware of. We definitely have that. We have freedom from time, but sometimes I know that in my younger days I definitely had times when I would be playing a video game and it'd be late at night, and before I knew it, the sun was coming up, and I said, "Uh-oh, this I'm in trouble." Yeah, Heather says I meant to play for 20 minutes, and now it's 3 hours later. Exactly. I'm sure everyone has had some variant of that. Maybe you were reading a book and you sat down to read one chapter and you read the end of the book. James, that happens to me as an adult. Yes. No, it could totally happen to you at any age. I'm that way now, but just with different things. I do a lot of work in my, I do a lot of work with plants, and I find that it happens a lot. If I start in on a plant project, things come up and I keep on picking up new things and moving and rolling with it. And before I realize it, a lot of time has passed and my wife is wondering where I am and why I'm still outside. So it can definitely still happen as an adult. Yeah, Joshua, when you live stream, right, you think you're only going to do it for 2 to 3 hours. Next thing you know, it's been 6 or 7 hours. It's like almost a full-time job there. That's a lot of it. Yeah. Diminished consciousness of self. So this manifests in two ways. The first one being, you kind of, we get so into what we're doing that we don't think about, we are not hungry anymore. We don't think about, what's happening. We don't think about physical pain. And the other one is more, psychological, emotional, where we're playing and we're so into what we're doing that we don't let what others think or our perception of what they think affect us. The think of the phrase "dance like nobody's watching." We have that freedom to go out and express ourselves and have fun, and we don't really care if we look silly. Improvisational potential, play has it. Whether we're playing an instrument or creating a story, making up a game, we have the opportunity to sit and make things up and improvise as we feel inclined and feel led to. So that's a huge part of play for a lot of people. Continuation desire. It's just what it sounds like. Once we start, we want to keep doing it. We're having fun. It's a good time. Why do you want to, most people don't want to stop having fun. And that's exactly what continuation desire is. Once we're doing it, we want to continue to do it. Don't confuse these qualities of play with play personalities. That play personalities are what we're going to be talking about in the second half of the go-to training. So just kind of keep that in mind. There, everyone says, "Don't worry, I won't confuse them." So excellent. And right, the idea that play is really about the journey, not the outcome. We're in it to have fun. We're in it to have a good time, maybe to learn, maybe to have an experience. But we don't let the outcomes define how we play and whether or not we engage and play that way. So that is the end of the first half of this go-to training. I am going to give everybody a break. We can take about 10 minutes, relax, get a drink, use the restroom if you need to, whatever you need to do. But I will come back in 10 minutes. So I'm at 2:53 right now. At 3:03 Eastern, we'll come back and we'll pick up where we left off. All right, excellent. Well, welcome back, everybody. I'm glad we're all here for the second half of the go-to training. In the second half, we're going to talk about play history and play personalities. Robert's glad I had an issue. I'm not missing anything. Yeah, inevitably, there's always something. We all have little hiccups along the way, so there's always something. All right, so I'm going to talk about a few things. Play personalities, some of the benefits of play, and how we can reconnect with play. So those are some of the general topics that we're going to be discussing. So what do we think about this statement right here? Do you think play is valuable as an adult? Yes. Okay, we've got a yes. A couple of yeses, of course. Absolutely. It's essential. Yes, more actually. I agree. Yeah, no, I think play is definitely valuable as an adult. Um, right, we use play for so many different things throughout life. And it's so strange because the world seems to tell us, quit messing around, stop playing, quit doing these things. Yeah, and everybody, yeah, all play, no, all work and no play. Yeah, no, it really is. It's good for us to play. It's good for us to get out, and it's good for us to relax and decompress and have that. We still have a lot that we can learn. We still go through. A lot with playing with what we're doing. So it's definitely important for us to do. And yeah, it seems so strange. It seems like there's like this, kind of at the end of high school, it tends to be, everyone says, oh, you need to buckle down. You need to go out there and do X, Y, and Z. Um, and everyone seems to think that they, know what's going to be best for us. And yeah, I think again, like we were talking about before, we really do. We attract an alternative student, and I think that it's not to say that um, we can't conform to regular you know traditional education, things like that. But a lot of people are that's just not what interests them. That's not what draws them. Um, what draws them in and has them keep coming back to something. So I definitely think that play is definitely an important part of our day-to-day activities. We kind of get this idea about play and seriousness and the equivalencies that we draw there. Um, Heather says, I watched a video about an ancient group that got through an economic crisis with no food or money by having scheduled game days to distract them. Interesting. Huh. That's very interesting. I'm curious to know more about that now. It was a TED talk. If you find a link to that, would you mind sending that to me in an email or messaging it to me in the platform? Yeah, if you have it, great. it looks like everyone watched this video. Yeah, no. I'm always happy to get new things and incorporate them into the class. So, um, anytime that I can get something, student feedback wise, yeah, I'm very happy to hear that. So, yeah, please feel free to send that over when you get it. So, looking back at play, um, yeah, you can put it in the discussion if that works. That way, anyone who wants to see it can see it. Um, yeah, that'd be perfect. So, right, looking back at play history is one of the things that it doesn't happen very often. I don't think everyone chooses or elects to go back and look at play, look at how they've played over the years. But going back and looking at it, it can be pretty enlightening. A lot of times we find that what we did as play as children is directly related to what we do as adults. A lot of times it's actually our same career field. Maybe somebody who was a big big into Legos. Became an architect. Um, there's all sorts of really interesting kind of parallels that we draw there. So I'd encourage everyone, when you're going through the readings, take some time to check out the play history and really stop and think about that. Think about how you played as a child and what that has to do with your career choices as an adult. Desiree, thanks so much for posting that there. I'm gonna save this and watch it later on, but I appreciate you dropping that in there for me. So we've got the play personalities. They're listed out here, and we're going to go through them one at a time. The very first one that we start with is a joker. And I'm sure you've met someone like this at some point in your life, someone who's, playing around, pranking their friends, telling jokes, maybe practical jokes, whatever it is. I have fallen into this category at different points in my life. I really think that there's something really funny about playing a joke on someone, or playing a joke doesn't have to be on someone. I think when we prank people in ways that they don't like it, it's not very much fun for anyone. But I think there's like this amount of work that goes into like finding a good prank that like you think someone will also, like, the person who you're pranking will appreciate it. Christy says, I'm a part-time comedian. Sit down, not stand up. I like that. Shortly after I started teaching, I got to know some of my fellow teachers, and one of who's my good friend now. I realized he was a good sport about things, and I have this tendency to. My wife wants to clean the house out a lot, and she says, "I've got this thing. We need to get rid of it," and I usually am to say, I say yes or no. But sometimes when I don't want to get rid of things, I bring them to work with me because that way they're out of the house and my wife is not upset. Point of this story is that my wife is a hairdresser, and when she went through hair school, she had a bunch of mannequin heads that she would do their hair. And I took one of these mannequin heads and brought it to work with me, and then I hid it in my friend's desk. And he thought it was hilarious. It did scare him. It startled him, but he was a good sport about it. Like, he thought it was fun. So again, he enjoyed it. He wasn't going to be upset about it. I wouldn't have done it if I thought he was going to be upset about it. But yeah, I think that stuff is. I think it's funny. I realize not everybody likes it. I think I like it a little bit too much. Will definitely say and encourage everyone, don't do mean things or hurtful things to people. That stuff. I just don't. I don't think it's fun. When it's mean or when people really get hurt. But if you know someone's a good sport about something, I think it can be fun for all parties involved. So there's definitely we've run into a lot of jokers. You'll meet them throughout your life. Sometimes they're pleasant, sometimes they're not as pleasant. But yeah, you'll encounter them. So we have the explorer, and the picture would lead you to believe that it's someone traveling the world. And it can be that. It can be exactly that. The explorer can be a world traveler. You can be an adventurer. You can be, traveling through abandoned caves or old buildings, whatever it is. But you can also explore in a book, in a video game. You can, I think of myself this way. I really like to drive down streets I've never been down. I think that's really fun to do. I like to go explore, just get a lay of the land. But I do it the same way. I remember when I played Red Dead Redemption, which is just one of my favorite games. I spent a lot of time just like wandering around in the desert, looking at things, figuring stuff out. I think a lot of people are video game explorers because, right, yeah, we can't always leave our house and go out and do stuff, but we can still explore a new world, and it's pretty interesting. And the people who make these games know that there's people doing it, so they put stuff out there. So it's interesting. It doesn't have to just, we don't have to be in the traditional context of an explorer. Let's see. My friends and I used to find areas in maps of World of Warcraft. That shouldn't be accessible. Yeah, no, that's a lot of fun. Open world RPGs are the greatest. Yeah, there you go. Definitely. And Justice 2, I haven't played that, so I can't say from experience, but I've definitely heard good things. So, but right, everyone has their area that they want to learn something new about. They want to figure something else out. We can explore the world through I've sat And I've sat on Google Earth before and just, I'm like, oh, I wonder what this country looks like. And I zoom in, and I wonder what this town looks like. And I wonder what these streets look like. Um, and, the world is kind of that accessible now that we can, go sit. Google Street View is available for a lot of countries. So not you do that for North Korea. Yeah, you can see it from Google Earth. Yeah. Um, yeah, there's a lot of fun stuff that GeoGuessr is a fun Google Earth game. Yeah, no, it is. It's interesting. Just kind of like look around and see what you can see. I mean, there's a lot of places in the world that I'm probably not going to go to in real life, but if I can explore them, sometimes I like to find islands. Look over the Pacific Ocean, which is huge and vast, and find really small islands. That's pretty interesting. I don't know. Things I'm unlikely to go visit in real life, but you can just sit at your computer and go there, which is interesting. We have the kinesthetes. So this is somebody who is, they're in body motion. They're really into some sort of physical activity. This can be somebody who plays sports. He's a dancer. The kinesthete really goes into a lot of different things. I think we kind of tend to pigeonhole them in we say, well, sports and dancing. And it's not just those, but really anything where our body movements are what we're drawn to, or what the activity is that's really fun for us. So we have the competitor, and I'll say that this tends to a lot of times get grouped with other personalities, and it's totally reasonable and normal to identify with multiple play personalities. So if you say, "Oh man, I feel like a lot of these things really make sense to me," that's definitely normal. A lot of people are multiple things. I in some ways can relate to the competitor play personality. There's some things I get really competitive about. A lot of things I don't. Sometimes I get too competitive, and I usually try to only get competitive about things that I think are really silly. Just because, I'm sports, sports, running fast, things like that. I can get by in all these things, but I'm not the best at them. I'm probably like about average at most sports activities. And I'm okay with that. I don't think I need to be the best at a lot of things. There's some things in life that I'm pretty good at, and I'm happy about that. But I like to get competitive over silly stuff sometimes. It's a lot of fun to do. That's right. Everyone gets competitive when it comes to Monopoly. Yeah, people do. People get really competitive over Monopoly, and I think it's just a time investment with that. You've been playing it so long that you feel like you really need to be invested in that. Any board game. I'm a big board game fan. I'm a kind of a nerd for kind of fun indie board games. So or non-traditional board games. So I definitely like board games a lot. The artist personality, I think probably everyone has a touch of this. It doesn't have to necessarily be your favorite primary thing, but I think that everyone has some artistic flair. There's always something that you're a little bit creative with. Again, we don't just have to be a visual artist. You can be an artist in all sorts of ways. You can do audio work. You can do all sorts of things. Joshua says he tries to be an artist. Yeah, absolutely. Desiree is a hobbyist. Yeah, I mean, everyone has their own level of things. Number of professional successful artists in the world. There's not a ton of them. There's not a ton of people who are making their living at their art. So right, for some people it is. It's more something they do for fun, and some people it's something that they absolutely have to do for their profession. Robert's a graphic designer. I wouldn't say I'm an artist though. I mean, I think that might be one of those things where maybe you sell yourself short a little bit. Maybe maybe there's some artistic nature to it that you don't see because it's something that you do every day. I find that that's one of the things that I tend to do. I tend to sell myself short on things that I'm like, well, I'm really good at this. I do this all day long. It can't be that special. But in reality, not to give you all a conversation about you're all special and unique. You are special and unique, but not to give you the traditional millennial conversation about whatever. Um, but right, we tend to sell ourselves short because we think, I'm surrounded by people who have similar skill sets to me. So everyone in my department has a similar education and, kind of similar credentials. So I tend to say, oh, well, everyone has this, and that's not the case. So you might feel that way, but it's likely because the people around you have similar skill sets and credentials. So just kind of keep that in mind when you go out there in the world and when you're selling yourself. Yeah, because like I don't do graphic design. I play around a little bit with Photoshop every now and then, and like when I do a little bit of like something decent, I'm like, oh, I'm a pro, and I'm like, I know how like 2 tools in Photoshop work, and that's about it. So, um, you know, just kind of don't sell yourself short. It's really where I'm going with that. Um, then we have the director. So this is somebody who maybe is more interested in orchestrating the pieces. They're not so much interested in getting their hands dirty and getting into something. They just kind of want to, they want to facilitate how things happen, how they work, how they're organized. Um, as a child, I tended to set my toys up in positions. I used to like, okay, I'll make a big scene out of all my toys and how they're all laid out. Um, but I didn't really want to play with them once they were there. I just wanted to kind of organize and orchestrate them. So definitely, for me, that was being the director as a small child. Some people take that to greater lengths. They actually want to write films or other things that you can direct. But right, you're more interested in kind of orchestrating the parts instead of doing the work yourself. We end up with a lot of storytellers at Full Sail. Um, it, excuse me, it takes multiple forms. We've got the people who are in creative writing who are actually just telling stories all the time. And then we look kind of deeper into our other areas. A lot of times marketing is storytelling. A lot of times, if you watch a commercial, you're almost always being told a story. This mom loves her family and her children, and that's why she uses Tide to wash their laundry. It's kind of everything is a story, whether or not we think about it that way. There is a story there. There's something. They're trying to communicate something to us. Think about video games. Every video game, for the most part, has a storyline. There's something going on. There's something happening. There's a reason for the action. Why are we doing what we're doing? Yeah. So definitely, there's a ton of storytelling. I'm a huge fan of storytelling, especially when it's actual spoken word people telling stories. I'm a big fan of the podcast The Moth. If anyone's ever looking for a good storytelling podcast, excuse me, that's a really great place to start. Themoth.org. Check it out if you have some free time. It's interesting and I like it. You may or may not. It's stories told live on stage. And they're true stories told without notes. So it's kind of a person gets up on stage and tells stories. And Antonio, yeah, brings up the great point that music is a great storytelling tool. Absolutely, so much. History is done that way. Carlos, I created a homemade carnival game midway when I was 10 and charged $1 to $2 per game to win one of your toys. True story. That's awesome. That's really funny. I feel like there's a clip from. Ooh, I'm really trying to think about it now. There was a clip. It was about a kid who made like an arcade out of cardboard boxes, and for the life of me, I can't tell you what it's called now. But I remember seeing it years ago, and it was pretty interesting. You had a pretty epic candy stash, I bet. Yeah. So the next one is the collector. I think everyone's probably at some point had a candy stash. Collection. I'm sorry. I was looked back at my my chat box from Carlos. Everyone's had a collection though. Yes. Collection of bowling balls. You wish. Oh, you do. Wait, do you really collect bowling balls, Joshua? Okay, you bowl in a league. Okay, awesome. I wasn't sure if you were just joking because some pictures of bowling balls. I would be like, that's funny. Okay, you really do. That's cool. Oh man, so you are good at bowling. Joshua averages 223. That's pretty impressive. Brian says he collect camera gear, and my wallet hates me for it. Computer parts. Sarah says, "All right, yeah." I have a interesting collection. Yes, I am thinking of Kane's Arcade. Bridget, good call. You read my mind. You're so smart. Everyone's like, I love it because yeah, no, I'm glad you had heard of it, so you knew exactly what I was talking about. If you guys are interested, check out Kane's Arcade. You can type that into YouTube, and it'll come up pretty quickly. It's pretty interesting. It's pretty cute. The only thing I collect is trash whenever I clean my room. Hey, clean your room. That's important. I have a collection of rare and exotic fruit trees. That is what I am into. Like permanent markers. Okay, interesting. Yeah, it is rare and exotic. You're right, Robert. Yeah, so fruit trees, I'm really into them. Mostly from South America. Jaboticaba is probably the fruit tree I collect the most. I have a bunch of them. That's how it's spelled. If you're looking for it, you can Google it on the Google machine. Chrissy gel pens in every color. Okay. All right, Bridget is pretty serious about her. Yeah, all the colors, tip styles. Do you do a lot of drawing, Bridget, or do you just love markers? Do tons of drawing. That's awesome. That's really cool. Joshua, the weirdest type of fruit tree that I have. Oh man. That's complicated. I have a rare variety of Jaboticaba is probably the answer. I have a Kambuka tree, which is pretty interesting. That's how it's spelled. If you want to take a look on the internet and figure out what it looks like. But yeah, Jaboticaba is probably the thing that it's pretty interesting. It's a tree that fruits on the trunk of the tree, so it looks really cool, and the fruit is delicious. So it really, I don't know, I like it a lot. All right, so those are the play personalities. Desiree, I collect paper. That's the weirdest thing I collect. Different types of paper, or just you just have like reams of paper, like printer paper. Music gear, okay. Different types of paper. All types of paper. Okay. Well, hey, I think it's important. If you have something that you're really into that you like, go with it. Even if you think it's weird, believe me. People are like, "Hey, John, you're a nerd about fruit trees," and I'm like, "Yep, I sure am." But I really like them. It's what like what keeps me going at home. It's a lot of fun. I mean, I have a lot of things that keep me going at home. But right, it's like it's my hobby. It's what's it's what's fun for me. So I don't really have to be super wrapped up in what other people think about it. Just right, yeah. Those are the things that I like. So if you like all types of paper, keep going with it. that sounds like a really interesting thing to collect. We've been through some of the benefits of play, but we'll go through them again, and feel free to jump in with other benefits if you have them. But play connects us. It really opens us up, and it breaks down a lot of our barriers that we have. We might not get out and get connected with everyone around us, at work or at school or wherever we are. But when we play together, we tend to, we have this opportunity to go out and really meet people. I was at a kind of like a school orientation camp that I was in years ago, and I remember having some free time in the evening, and I orchestrated a kickball game. And it was a ton of fun, and not everyone played, but a lot of people played. And I remember, being really happy and having a good time with it. And I remember, I was cheering for my team when we did well, and I was cheering for the other team when they did well. And it just wasn't. No one really cared about, who was winning and losing. It was about everyone having fun and getting out and participating and doing something together. And it was just really a nice way to get connected with people and to meet people and to be inclusive. So play is definitely one of the things that will connect us to one another. For all of us, it fosters creativity, flexibility, and learning. We'll get deeper in this as we go on. When you see they'll be later in the weeks a reading that's called The Candle Problem, which is really interesting to me, but it talks about how stress basically inhibits our ability to do creative problem solving, and how regular play and being involved, being in things that kind of lower our stress levels can really open doors and unlock a lot of creative problem solving for us. It reduces stress. I think that's one of the things that you can't say enough. And everyone says, it reduces stress. That's great. I think this is one of those things that we write off a lot. We all say, I'm young, I can be stressed, it's no big deal. But it builds over the years. As we get older and there's more and more things, and we think about it and we hold those things and we carry them. It really does. It builds up, and then we get years and years into our life, and we've been holding stress for a long time. It's really not good for us. We tend to say, oh well, it's I'm not going to get an immediate reward for dealing with my stress, and it tends to be that's how we deal with a lot of stuff. But it really is in the long run one of the things that is going to be beneficial for us is to do things that will relieve stress. Yeah, it does, right? It says stress can kill you. It makes your brain sick. Yeah, it's really not good. It's not just your brain, your other vital organs. Stress really is not doing us any favors. Especially if it's a chronic thing that we're always under stress. Definitely not something that we want to have be a regular part in our life if we can avoid it. Play teaches us perseverance. I'm sure everyone's had that experience where there was something, a task, an objective, something that you wanted to do, that you really had to work hard for. If you're a person who maybe things didn't come easy for you in play or whatnot, you kept working at them until you achieve them, which is pretty impressive. Being able to work towards a goal and then achieve that goal, it feels great. And I think that a lot of times we get robbed of that. A lot of times people say, oh, you're having a hard time. How can I help you alleviate, this difficulty you're having? But sometimes experiencing that difficulty and going through it, it can be beneficial because, right, it teaches us to persevere. Sometimes stress can push you to succeed as well. I think that there's a level of pressure that we can be under that says, "Hey, I really want to, I want to do well. I want to succeed." And I think that, right, when applied in certain ways, um, it can have that effect on you. But I think that in the chronic long term, if every day of your life is a ton of stress, it's probably going to do more harm in the long run. If it's a chronic thing that you're always under. Play tends to make us happy. It's just as simple as that. We enjoy what we're doing. We have a good time. We get out. We're able to kind of shake off whatever's keeping us down, whatever we're not loving in life, and enjoy it. Enjoy what we're doing. And have some fun. The idea that a little play goes a long way. We'll come across it later on in the readings, but there's what's called the 20-minute rule. And the 20-minute rule is it comes up in when we talk about multitasking. It actually comes up in hey, here's how multitasking doesn't work out that well for us in a lot of cases. But if you're going to do things, give yourself 20 minutes to do each thing. I think that 20-minute rule applies to play really well. If you're working on something, especially if you have something really serious that you're working on, you need to get done. You have a goal you need to meet, but you realize that you're getting you're having diminishing returns at getting your work done. Take 20 minutes to play. Take 20 minutes. Let your brain reset. Have a good time. Spend 20 minutes on it. After that 20 minutes is up, come back and see how you feel about something and see, okay, wow, that 20 minutes really refreshed me. I feel great and I'm ready to keep working on something. So the idea that we'll reconnect with play in the class, it's the play activities are there for a reason. In your weekly plan, we think that it's worthwhile and useful for you to start incorporating play back in. If you haven't, if that's something that's slipped out of your schedule, consider reincorporating it. I realize that inevitably, always has to have someone who says, "I don't have time for this," and obviously, I can't force you to play. But I would say, you know what? Hey, I think it's worthwhile. I think it's something that we encourage our students to do. So, find something, if you haven't played in a while, find something that you want to do and go out and engage with that. Reevaluate the ideas that you have about play. Stephanie says, I cannot disconnect from playing. Oh, terrible. I understand that. Sometimes play really draws you in. That's a lot of times is the idea of it. Right. Change how we think about play. Maybe if we've seen it in one particular light, we've seen it as a waste of time, seen it as something for children, whatever. Kind of if we need to reevaluate the way we look at it, maybe do that. Maybe look at it as more of a creative fertilizer, if you will. Say, yeah, I want to remain creative. What's one of the things that will give me longevity in a creative career? Play is really one of those big things. It's one of those things that will continue to allow you to have a fruitful career in a creative industry. Check out the play history in the readings. It's worth going over. It's worth looking at. Take the time and say, hey, what was my childhood play like? I think it's really a useful tool. I think that it will, probably give you a little bit of insight into yourself, into, what you're doing now and how that relates to childhood. Being around playful people is another big one. If you're in a room with people who are grumpy and mad and upset, that tends to rub off on the room, but if you're in a room full of people who are having fun, who are playful, who are enjoying themselves, having a good time, again, it's going to rub off on the rest of the group. I think that obviously there's some sort of a boundary. You know, you have to get work done. Things need to happen. We have to accomplish what we set out to accomplish. But right, it's okay to have fun in in the process of getting things accomplished. Playing with little ones and pets. Not everyone has little ones. Maybe you have younger siblings. Maybe you have children, nieces, nephews. If there's young people in your life, getting around them and playing can go a long way. I know that my kids, they really like it. Even if I just crawl around on the floor with them and I chase them, and I give them dinosaur roars, they seem to think that's really hilarious and fun. And it really it brightens my day up. Even if I'm tired and feeling grumpy, you know, I've got smiling, laughing little kids, and it's a lot of fun to see them enjoying themselves. Similarly, pets. You know, if you have a pet, you can go play with them. Um, it's a great way to get out and spend some time playing. So we'll recap what we learned about play. I'm sorry. So I think at the end of the day, if you haven't already, gotten to that point, hopefully you'll see the value in play. Brian, this is how'd you find the picture of me? I will be true. I did not create this slide deck. One of my coworkers did, and I thought it was a really good slide deck, so I borrowed it from them. But I think that's a funny picture of a dog. Right. Look at play, hopefully with in a new light. If that's something that's going to be helpful for you. I think that if for nothing else, even if you only do it for this month, it's worth it to incorporate some play into your life just to see how it goes. You know, worst thing that happens, you stop playing and you say, "Oh, no more. I'm good." But I think that there's really a lot to offer, especially if you want to have longevity in a creative career. I think it's worth it to examine play and to look at new ways to incorporate it into your life. So whatever that means for you, take some time, reflect on that, think about it. Does anyone have any questions? Questions about this, questions about the class in general, questions about the assignments, anything at all you want to ask questions on? If you don't have any questions, you're free to go. I'm happy everyone was here. Thank you so much for being here. It was great. I enjoyed spending time with you all. Yeah, but you're free to go. You can just close out. If you have anything, you need anything, feel free to jump in. I'm happy to hear from you. Thank you. Yeah, feel free, everybody. Thank you. The video will be up. I can probably say it probably like 6:30, 7 o'clock at the latest is what I'll try to do. I'll have it up this evening. It's my plan. I think we say within 24 hours, but I'll realistically have it up this evening. I'll process it and get it up and going. All the lectures are 2 hours, yes. Thanks everybody for being here. Yeah. Everybody have a great Thanksgiving. Yeah. Yeah, sure, Carlos. The assignment due this evening. Just going into our class. So all of our week 1 stuff. Let's open this up and look at it. So we have our activity 1.1 Essentials E3. You'll want to complete that tonight, and you'll want to complete your activity 1.2 weekly plan. You'll want to get that started as well. Stephanie, pertaining to the assignments, if they aren't graded by all the same individual, if you say it's okay to put our assignments on the calendar and another says not to, do we by default go to the written instructions on the site? You know what I would do? I would just email your instructor and just say, hey, can I do X, Y, and Z? Can I do this? And see what they have to say. You throw me under the bus if you need to. I'm happy. I don't. If you've done something and you get in trouble, this is a recording. Everyone can go back and listen to it and say, "Hey, Mr. Morton said this." So that I don't want to give everyone the wrong idea. I would email your instructor is what I would really do. Email them, ask them, "Hey, can I do this?" Brian, the material that has been added to these go-tos, are those something that you want us to look at, or are they just stuff that goes along with what we're going over for the week? The material that's been added, I'm not quite sure I follow. Most of what we talk about in the go-to training, I mean, I talked about the basic, how the assignments work, all of that. The stuff that we've been talking about, though, play personalities, qualities of play, they're topics from the readings. So these are things that you're going to cover in the readings this week. The reason I talk about them is kind of get to make this a little bit more relatable to anyone can say, hey, go read this thing. But to facilitate a conversation and to dive a little bit deeper into some of our topics, that's why we have this and why we do what we do. I don't know if that answers your question, but does that help at all? There's the list of materials under the attendees tab, kid president. Oh, you know what? I follow what you're saying. Sorry, my bad. Yeah, no, you don't have to worry about those materials. I'm sorry. That is, no, you don't have to worry about those. Thanks, Stephanie. I appreciate that. You're an excellent attendee. So it was great having you here. Have a great weekend. Yeah, thanks for being here, everybody. Yeah, Brian, those are, they're not related to this week's topic. So I should have deleted them before I started, and I forgot to. They're ones that are related to a different topic. So they're there by accident. But the reason that they're there in general is in case an instructor wants to say, okay, everybody go to the materials section and pull up this video. We can go watch the video and we can all watch it together and have the same source for it. But they're in there from a previous training and I forgot to clean them out. So it was an accident. So my apologies for not doing that. I should have gotten my little bit of housekeeping done before I started. So my apologies. Yeah, sorry about that. Anybody else? Any more questions at all?